Greetings, everyone. We're back with Liz Cross, and we have another exciting probe for you. How are you doing today, Liz?
Great. Thank you. Thank you for being here, by the way. I love all the work that you do. You really are so informational, educational, and any other AL word I can think of.
Cool. I'm glad you have me. I'm glad you have me here. So we are going to talk about Stan Meyer today, and he is famous for, supposedly, we're going to find out, creating a car that was powered strictly by water. So I want to see if you can bring in Stan with us. He is since passed on.
Yes, I do have him here. He made a car out of water. He said, "Yes, I did, Liz. It's phenomenal."
Yeah, he's an interesting character. I mean, you can go and watch some videos with him, and I don't know. I always got good feelings from listening to him. You know, I didn't feel like he was pulling my leg.
Were you pulling our legs? No, he wasn't. He
So
wasn't. He had a lot of inventions, he says.
yeah, like that's why another reason why, a lot of people are interested in him, because I mean, he was a very intelligent guy. Yeah, I think he had like hundreds, if not thousands of patents in the United States for inventions. He also worked for NASA, I believe on the Gemini space program. And the reason that he states that he created, the water-powered car was in response to the oil embargo that happened in the 70s, and it made him realize, like, wow, we have an energy crisis that could, take down Western civilization at some point if we're just relying on oil forever. And also, he was a very spiritual man as well, and he made it known that he wanted to do this, for the good of all, really. So he really did have a car powered with water. And does he feel like there was a lot of interests that were working against him when they figured out that he had this actual invention that worked?
Did you understand that this was? He didn't think that it was going to work against him when he invented it. He thought that he would be like the next big thing.
Right.
He thought that everybody would embrace this. It was an opportunity to save the planet, to save the destruction, to stop the wars, to stop the fighting. Let's all get along, you know?
Right. And that's really what would happen. If we could solve the energy problem on Earth, then that solves so many problems, right? Like that's huge. That's like a gigantic accomplishment if we don't have to rely on fossil fuels. If we can have, this car was powered on tap water, and the only thing that came out of the back of the exhaust was tap water, like as a water vapor rather, right? So like you could extend that technology to everything. If we could power a car on water, then theoretically we could power a whole civilization on water. Now, but at some point, did he realize that he was being, he was being silenced, or there was interest against him that were trying to silence him?
He was shocked that they tried to silence him. In fact, he had many visits, he says, by the men in suits, right?
Yeah, that's the conspiracy theory. We cannot confirm or deny that, but we assumed that. So who was it that was visiting him, the so-called men in suits?
Who was it? Who were they? They were the oil industry. They were like the secret team of, he calls them heavies. They were basically heavies from the oil industry that were coming to shut him up. And they threatened him. They threatened his family. They threatened everything about him. They had the money and the means and the wherewithal and the motivation to take him down. He said, my life was meaningless to them. And he believes that they are responsible for his death.
Okay. And were there also like government interests like Department of Energy that were also aware of this?
Were the Department of Energy bully you as well? No, it was really, I mean, they were aware, but it was really but it's funny what he just said to me. He said, but the Department of Energy is linked to these men in suits anyway, right?
Mm.
Inadvertently, because the Department of Energy does like a lot of backdoor deals and they get a lot of kickbacks. And so it's profitable for them to have a job to do to monitor the oil industry.
Yeah,
And
they go out of business too.
it's very symbiotic.
Right. Right. And also like the argument too from people that are looking at this from the outside is that the United States itself runs on oil. Like the whole economy runs on oil. So if that goes away, that is a complete power shift, for the United States itself. Right. If somebody's creating the energy sources in their garage, then it takes away the power from the US, hegemony or it's, as a world power. So they have a vested interest to keep this technology silent as well.
Do you believe that they have a vested interest in keeping the tech? He says absolutely, and everything you just said is correct.
All right. Well, that's okay. That's I mean, it's not good to know but it's good to know, but it's sad. Okay, so everybody believes that he was murdered. And so the story goes that in March of 1998, he met with two Belgian investors along with his brother at like a diner. And the story goes is that he took a sip of his cranberry juice and he grabbed his neck and dropped to his knees. And his last words were, "They poisoned me." So is that story true? Was he poisoned?
He doesn't believe he was poisoned, but he said the stress alone is what killed him. He was
Wow.
scared. And he says, I was trying to put this information out there. I was trying to get this patented. I was trying to get this picked up, sold to the industry. And he was under a lot of stress. His life was on the line. They were threatening him. Did you die? How did you die? Was it you grabbed your throat? He says, I couldn't breathe. Why couldn't you breathe? I feel like there was a blood clot or something. I'm not sure what he's trying to
Yeah.
tell.
Yeah, you're correct. The autopsy report said that he had a brain aneurysm.
Oh, okay. So, and it stopped him from breathing, but he believes it was the stress that killed him. He could not understand why such an invention was deemed so terrible.
Hmm. Okay, so what happened to his technology after he passed?
It just sort of faded out.
So there was did did the oil company or government come in and take the technology away and shelve it?
I feel like it had to be hidden at that point. Everybody was after the plans for this vehicle and they had to be locked away and eventually they were destroyed just for their own safety.
Oh, so it was destroyed by his whoever it was dealing with his like estate.
I feel like his brother had to destroy it.
Wow. Okay. So there is no way for people to kind of pick up his work from directly from the trail of what he created.
There is a way, but those plans are in pieces, many different pieces. They're not kept together. and they've been locked away in a safe for years, in many safes actually, uh,
Hmm, yeah.
safety deposit boxes.
Does he see someone right now that's successful in doing what he did, or will there be someone again?
Oh, will there be someone again that? I mean, they're always working on this, and I feel that, see, there are other people that have invented similar things, but they're also being shut down, even to this day.
Yes. And now I want to actually do a separate probe where we just probe like free energy inventors and go through like, like the history of that, because there's a lot of content. And I think it's always been a fascinating topic to me. But
If
this guy, Stan, is really like most people recognize him in modern times as being the guy.
if it cuts out or cuts into their profit margin, he says, then he just put like a gun to his head, right? He's like, then you're out of there.
Yeah.
You cannot hurt their pockets. And whatever it is, it has to be something that not only makes money just to the oil industry, but even with electric vehicles, it's still making money in the lithium industry and in the mining industry and this and that and the charging station. So there's still this need for products, this need for consumption. With this type of hydro powered car, it cut out all of that. It actually, the parts for the vehicle were very minimal and very cheap.
Right. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it, right? It's something that, I mean, a true free energy device is just like that. It's not going to rely on all the resources and infrastructure that we have now. It completely tears that all down, and makes everything not necessary anymore. So it's very dangerous to the status quo. And, I know that he had the best intentions going into it, but unfortunately it attracted the worst of intentions from others. I want to know on a higher level, like let's take it out to like, source and spirit. Like, was this not meant to be, because it would disrupt not only the order of us here as our civilization, but like it would solve too many problems to make life too easy for us to solve our life lessons. That's kind of the direction of questioning I want to ask. Come up with some questions for that. So let's ask source, like, was it not meant to happen because it would wreck the life path of too many people?
Is it because it would wreck the life path of too many? It's really just about the money. They like for us to live in a society fueled with consumption. And it was going to really cut down so much. Like, you wouldn't really need this massive car industry with lots of parts. And he says now, even with all the computer and the chipboards and you wouldn't need any of that. This car was so simple and so effective, and it rarely broke down. Whereas, in the car industry, you need oil changes and you need fluid replacements and you need part replacements and engine replacements, and you have like exhausts and things like that. It just, but I'm saying to him, what about the water vapor? Um would that have been detrimental to the atmosphere? He says, yes, on some level it would be, because, it would cause a lot of moisture in the air, and it would cause a lot of things to become trapped in the atmosphere. There would have made obviously some sort of layer. He's like, maybe even possible permanent rain, which is it. I don't understand any of this. This is far
Oh,
beyond the realms of scientific grasp,
so
right?
it would affect the hydrology cycle if it was on a massive scale.
Yes, yes. And And they knew that. And he had to answer a lot of questions about that. But his overall message was it cuts out the destruction, the consumption, the need for oil, the destruction of the planet. People fight, like that was his argument. And they could see that if this technology or his patent or whatever got out there, that yes, it would, nobody would have to fight for that power anymore.
Mm. Okay, so the question, I don't know if maybe the question I was asking before was, more to source, and to do with our like spiritual lessons that we learn here on Earth. Was this kind of prevented in a way from taking off because it would, disrupt how easy life would become for humans on Earth?
I'm sorry, what was that question?
The question is to source, would this disrupt not only like our, big business, but would it also disrupt the life lessons of people if, we had a water powered car, because it would solve so many problems here on Earth?
Oh, would it? Yeah, so oil and destruction and consumption is necessary for our life path because it brings in a lot of those additional elements into the timeline that would otherwise not be available.
Is there at any point in time a technology like this would be, allowed to happen like spiritually so that, we could evolve?
I don't think that we are ever going to get to a point, certainly within the next couple of 100 years, where we cut out this mass consumption.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's the hard answer and question that nobody wants to hear, that we are here to learn lessons through adversity. And, if we had this golden ticket of something like this, it would absolutely, negate a lot of those lessons that we're here to learn for our soul evolution. Geez. What's, I just think about this stuff in my head a lot. Like, on one level, like Source wants us to be respectful for what it has created in terms of nature, right? But at the same time, on our timeline, it seems like we're here to learn the lessons through the destruction of it. It's like, where's the balance there? Is there a balance?
It's almost like the necessary evil.
Uh, because there's those of us here that are, more respectful of nature or working towards, repairing nature, right? And then there's the other side that is more destructive to nature. They both serve a purpose.
It does serve a purpose, yes.
And I would assume that you get like the karma thing, right? It's like, we get better karma by being respectful and, giving thanks for things. But at the same time, the people that are the necessary evil, quote unquote, if you will, do they also get sort of good karma by playing out their role?
About playing out their role? I mean, that's a very complex question.
Mm.
Yes, I mean, so the overall, do people who play out, whether it's large industry or whatever it is, do people that play out their end of the soul contract, they receive any good karma? I mean, it is what it is what I'm getting.
Mm.
It is what it is. It's like this is energetically binding, and it just is what it is. That's how the universe works. That's how the energy is labeled. Now, let me ask this question. Okay, so oil, excuse me, and the drilling for oil and the transportation of oil, that's all energy. That is correct. If we eliminated all of the oil and the activities around it, would that mean we would have a surplus of energy on the earth plane? And I'm getting no. That energy would, what would happen to that energy? Would it just not exist in our realm of the here and now? And that's correct. Do you understand what I'm talking about when I say that?
Well, I mean, the energy is, it's encapsulated in the form that it is, which is fossil fuels, and we're the ones that are making, like, turning it into energy. And that's,
Mhm.
I don't think that's the problem. The problem is the side effects from that, right? Is that in order
Right.
to turn it into energy, we're destroying the environment. So it's not that, like, it's energy. I mean, everything is energy, right? Right. So
Mhm.
it's like, what do you want to use for energy? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
And the side effects are also energy, right? So even though the side effects can be detrimental to our health or detrimental to the earth plane or detrimental in so many different ways, it's still energy. So I was, everything, if you take this point in time that we're talking now, and we say everything right now is labeled as energy, everything in the atmosphere, everything on the earth plane, above the earth plane, below the earth plane, whatever. If we took that need for burning oil or using oil to create energy away, where would that energy sit? Like, would it just be available, unclaimed energy in the universe? And I'm getting a yes. So, because people don't understand how tightly wound and entangled the universe is with energy, right? This is why manifesting is so difficult. I could go on and on about this. And you have to understand that every healing modality requires an energy exchange. Why? Because there's no spare energy to just pull from to heal. You have to have this exchange. So if we took out the element of oil and the use and the need for oil in the universe, and we just had water energy, which was already readily available to us anyway, what, how does that fit in terms of the energetic entanglement that we have? And would it mean that there's energy that's available at our disposal, which is unclaimed? And I'm getting a yes on that.
oh yeah, I mean, if everything is energy, I mean, the sun is powering all life on Earth and the geology on Earth. I mean, that's untapped energy for humans for the most part. Our solar panels cannot, compete with plants at this point. So I mean, there's energy everywhere that we could harness, but we've chosen a very inefficient energy source comparatively. Whereas water, obviously, as you said, it's just there. It's already there, right, in our environment. But we cannot use it at this point because it would disrupt the,
Right. Right.
the adversity level that we need to grow and evolve spiritually. And that's the hard pill to swallow. Okay. Well, I think maybe we should wrap this up here. And we got to the bottom of the mystery. It is indeed real. We can thank Stan for being here and bring clarity for this. And we're so grateful for his wonderful intentions that he had here on the earth plane to change the world. So we're grateful for that.
Yes, absolutely. And I wish that his plans would revive themselves, but he's saying no, Liz. He says, you don't understand. They will come after you. He really says, I was so naive. I thought that this would be, accepted and received with open arms. Wow, he's finally found the solution to all the world's problems. No.
Yeah, it's We all want the utopia and like, there's an answer for everything and we can solve the world's problems tomorrow. And, there's a lot of solutions like this that do exist, like physically, they do exist. It's not an impossible thing. It's just that it just doesn't match up with the timeline of the way things need to play out, unfortunately. So we need to figure out how to, you know, be the best we can be given the cards that we're dealt with, right? How we react to these realities, how we treat others, and how we, make others feel is the most important thing at the end of the day, despite the, what we would view as like, oh, it's not the ultimate, way things are supposed to be. We're not living in the perfect world.
No, and what is so interesting is one of my British friends is over here at the moment and said, wow, there's so much wastage here. Like, we've come so far in the UK as opposed to the USA. There's so much plastic and, packaging and bags, and they don't seem to be taking it seriously or doing anything about it. And I said, well, first of all, we're a much larger country. Does that mean it's a plausible excuse? No, but trying to change, 300 and something million people as opposed to, maybe 70 million, it's easier to penetrate the minds of the 70 million and get them to make a change as opposed to a large country like this where it's very spread out. But my answer to that was then it needs to start at the top and work its way down, meaning that the companies really need to take a lot more responsibility on how they're packaging, how they're producing, how they're bagging things. I don't need to go to the grocery store and I don't need my tomatoes in a plastic package. Like, just things like that. I know in Canada, they put their milk in bags, which I was like, I asked everybody when I was in Canada, why is your milk in bags? Like, I didn't understand it, but I think it was really part of the consumerism and the consumption lifestyle, which is, it's much more efficient to put milk in bags as opposed to these massive containers that take years and years and years to disintegrate. Recycling is not done on a mass scale here as it is in Europe. Europeans are much more conscientious in a lot of the European countries, not everybody, but they're a lot more conscientious of the wastage and the recycling and things like that. But I think for a country as large as this, you have to start from the top down. Stop putting the onus on the little man. We're not the ones packaging, we're not the ones creating. I think it has to be from the top down. That's my personal opinion. I don't feel that will ever happen. I feel that the government will still continue to allow like free enterprise and not really tell them how to do their business. So therefore, it really is down to us to make that change. But it's kind of a backwards approach, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, everything starts with consciousness, right? So if you change the consciousness of the public, then they're going to vote with their dollars. They're not going to support things, but it's a chicken and the egg, right? It's like, what incentive does the company have to do it if they're just making money, right?
Exactly.
Now, if they're losing money, then they have the ultimate incentive to change their business practices. So,
yes.
it's hard to argue. Like, yes, ultimately from the top down, that would be the quickest way to do it, but I don't see them having the incentive to do it unless people stop buying their products.
They really don't. They really don't have an incentive to do it. And because it's cheap. Plastic is very cheap compared to making sustainable packaging. And ultimately, the cost will be trickled down to the consumer. And then at this point in inflation, I think the consumer's already been hit so hard. I mean, a lot of people can barely afford to buy groceries right now. Wages are not keeping up with inflation. And so at this point, all of this environmental stuff really goes out the window because you only have so many choices to make with limited amounts of money, and you're going to make ultimately the choice that's going to feed your family. It's really, that's why it has to go from the top down. And I
That's
would rather have a few extra pennies on a product overall spread across, spread across the population, if it means that it makes a change, instead of, trying to put everything on the consumer. It
that's
just, it's shocking to me. It really is.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. All right, Liz, what do you think? Did we do a
Well,
success probe here or what? I think so.
well, we got to go, folks. I'm sorry. We're trying to keep the time limits down. But of course, if you have any questions or comments, nice ones, please, put them in the comment field. We always read the questions. Of course, you can interact with Mr. Photon, myself on the Discord through patreon.com/remote viewing and beyond. Mr. Photon is available for crypto consults and health consults. Please contact him. Just see what he's about. And that's Digital Freedom Tactics at protonmail.com. All of this information will be dropped down in the comments. And don't forget to give him a tip, because he does work really hard in order that we become more educated people through all of these probes. So thank you so much. Anything else from you, Mr. Photon?
Yeah, no, that's about it. Thanks for having me, Liz. Thanks to Stan for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, and I can't wait. Thank you.